Hello and welcome to another Smaulgld live stream. It is February 4th, 2019. This is an early Smaulgld live stream. We will be doing the longer Smaulgld live stream later this evening on the topic, continuing on the gold cross discussion we had about the silver Democrats and their fight to keep silver as a monetary metal. We're going to do a follow-on called something, it's either going to be called a farewell to silver, a silver cross, too much to bear, but the content will be about silver and the Democrats' attachment to it from 1934 to 1965. But today we're going to catch up on some gold, silver, and cryptocurrency news. And the topic today is the Bitcoin ETF back on track. Let's take a look at our gold and silver prices for the day. Silver actually did better today than gold did. The gold price went down and was down about $5.50, down 0.44%. Silver, on the other hand, was almost managed to make it into positive territory, but didn't quite manage to do it. But it was only down 4 cents. You can see it had a nice little run up, and it didn't fall as much during the day as gold somewhat faded. The reason for that is the equity markets are very strong today. The Dow Jones was up about almost 200 points, 175 points to 25,239. NASDAQ up 83 points to 73.47, and S&P up about 0.68% or 18 points to 27.24. So the Dow Jones up 0.7, S&P up about 0.7, and NASDAQ up over 0.15. This was a big day again for the equity markets, and they have been on a tear since the plunge protection team met on Christmas Eve in 2018 last year. But the gold and silver prices did manage to hold on to, well, at least gold is held up to the $1,300 level. Silver has lost its handle on 16. Over in the cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin up a little bit to $3,409, up 0.03%. Bcash up 1.24% at 117.21. Ethereum at $105.94. That's unchanged. Litecoin had been over $34 today. It's now at $33.67, up 2%. Very close to market cap now to Bitcoin Cash, and Ethereum Classic at $3.83, down 0.26%. Now, in other gold news, well, Venezuela is still in the news. They're saying Venezuela is trying to sell gold to stay afloat, and they don't have that much gold left. They've sold some in the past. They have some held supposedly for safekeeping in England that they can't get their hands on, but it looks like they are down to their last few bars. And it'll be interesting to see if Maduro hangs on, what the U.S. response will be. There's talk from anything from embargo to actual invasion. Maduro's warning against an invasion. You've got China and Russia wanting to protect their interests there. That is a hot spot that could become a little hotter. Gold miners. Interesting to see Bloomberg catching up on the gold interest, saying that after years in the doldrum, gold miners are finally hot again. Gold M&A is the hot topic this week as the mining industry met in Cape Town in South Africa. It's a game changer, I would believe. All right, over on the crypto side, a lot of things are happening that were put on hold because of the government shutdown, and that is the awaiting of regulatory approval for BACT. And BACT is the agreement or the alliance of Microsoft, Starbucks, Boston Consulting Group, and the New York Stock Exchange, and they are working on putting together a Bitcoin trading platform that has futures in it, that has, quote, physically delivered Bitcoin, but will also allow or facilitate the use of the Bitcoin in commercial transactions for places like Starbucks. And that would probably be one of the biggest and most liquid markets, and that would be something that the ETF people could piggyback off of, because the SEC can get comfortable that that platform is large, it's transparent, it's got New York Stock Exchange behind it, all the stuff that they have for everything that they feel comfortable with in the current Wall Street arrangement. Then they'll have their own storage facility. And also, they're working on streamlining consumer payments. So it really is somewhat of a soup to nuts Wall Street platform for Bitcoin and Bitcoin trading. It's only Bitcoin, no other altcoins involved in this. And it says the cryptocurrency trading company aims to revolutionize the way people pay for everything from coffee to cars. And they also want to be trading it. It's very smart of them. If they want to set up a trading platform, they also have to facilitate why would anyone trade Bitcoin? Because if Bitcoin isn't being used, and you say, well, it's a store of value. It's a store of value for what reason? What value does it have? Remember, gold and silver have value because you can have them, use them. You don't have to spend them to have value. That's part of the whole discussion and debate I've been having why gold and silver may not be money because they are not medium of exchange. They're not used as a medium of exchange. That doesn't mean that they don't have value outside of that function. Whereas Bitcoin, really, its only value is in the function that you can use it, you could spend it. And I think what they're trying to do here is really bring Bitcoin payments into the mainstream and then also mainstream it as an asset class that people buy and sell. And there's a lot of money to be made in that, and that's why BACT is on it. But they haven't, they originally were going to go live at the end of December 2018. Then they pushed that date out to January 24th, and then the what happened was the government shut down. They announced also that they were going to delay that date, but then they announced like 175 million in new capital coming into the company as by means of investment. So I guess they're planning on making the launch when it happens bigger than they were anticipating, with more people, more companies signed up, and now they have more capital to blow probably on marketing. Now, what does this mean for the ETF? Well, we mentioned that this gentleman here, Gabor, I botch his name all the time. I won't pronounce his last name, but he has been the guy. He works for Van Eck, and he's been pushing for the Bitcoin ETF, as have others. The Winklevoss trends have tried. There's been about 8 or 9 applications for Bitcoin ETFs. Many people think that Van Eck has the best shot at it. They've got Bitcoin ETFs, many different areas. They have got 2 mining gold ETFs, GDX, GDXJ, I believe, are what they have. And they had pulled their application, their first application at the SEC to get a rules change to allow for their Bitcoin ETF just about 2 weeks ago when the government was closed, and they just refiled it. And they seem to think they have all the concerns handled, because the big issues with Bitcoin ETF from the SEC perspective, the first issue they had with the Winklevoss twins back in 2016 or 17 was most of the trading was taking place overseas on Chinese unregulated exchanges, and there's no way that the SEC would be able to have any type of insider into those markets because they're outside the U.S., they're unregulated. But what supposedly has got the SEC more comfortable is they have worked out arrangements with other OTC exchanges for market surveillance agreements. They're with the SEC, run by NASDAQ. I mean, you can't get any better than that. And of course, if BACT gets up and running, there'll be the same type of regulatory oversight. So they were concerned that they weren't going to have the insight and be able to tell if there's manipulation. Now, that doesn't mean that manipulation doesn't happen when the SEC is watching. It just means that at least they can say, well, at least we can, in theory, we can see that there's something going on, but we can't purport to give investor protection if we don't even have the ability to even check it out. So it's not a guarantee that there won't be manipulation. It just means that at least they can have access to the markets and they can see what's going on. The other thing was storage. I think they have that one nailed down too. There's been some approved storage facilities for Bitcoin. Fidelity's going to have one up and running. And the other one was just the idea of liquidity. And I think they're solving that because there's been decent liquidity in the futures markets with the CME group and with these other platforms coming online, like Fidelity's and ErisX, supposed that having Bitcoin and cryptocurrency exchanges. Coinbase is fairly robust. These are all just in the United States. So they think they have a shot at it, and Gabor's points here are: why is a Bitcoin ETF serve the public interest? Increase liquidity using the ETF ecosystem, lower counterparty risk, better valuation and execution practices. These are basically points in general about ETFs: separation of duties, trading, custody, and valuation, transparent fees, and an established compliance framework. It's almost like he's saying that it would be good if you guys approved it so that we would have your approval, because therefore it would be compliant. But those are his points, and that could happen at any moment, or it can just be delayed indefinitely. I think at some point they're going to have to, I mean, if once Backed is up and running, I can't see them not approving a Bitcoin ATM. The other thing that's going on in the regulatory system are these bit licenses that are being handed out now, not like candy, but being handed out a bit more often now in New York. Here is another bit license going to a third Bitcoin ATM operator. This one I think is called Cottonwood Vending LLC. So clearly this also provides liquidity. It provides, these are probably people who buy it this way. I would imagine they're looking to spend it, because it's not probably the most cost-effective way to buy your Bitcoin. But New York City, or New York, seems to be comfortable handing out these licenses to Bitcoin ATM operators, of which the last I checked, and that was today, we're closing in on 4,300 of them in the world, and of those, nearly 2,600 are in the United States. Also, here's one: Stuttgart, Litecoin, Bitcoin, now being traded on the second largest stock exchange. So you're getting a lot of cryptocurrency exchanges out there that aren't just the startups like Mt. Gox, but the more established ones that have regulatory approval. And this is just an update on Litecoin, Charlie, talking about how they're trying to make Litecoin fungible and confidential transactions, so that whatever Litecoin you have, it's not going to be an issue that somehow it went through the blockchain and there was something untoward about one of the transactions. It may taint your Litecoin if you bought it, through one of the transactions. And this way it'd be like cash, the way they would actually work this out through a soft fork, that you wouldn't be able to tell where the Litecoin came from. That's a dual-edged sword in a way, because if it becomes more like cash, then it become more, well, it's more private. It is less friendly to the regulators, obviously, because they can't track it the same way, and that may make it harder for them to get approval for it to be traded on exchanges. But we'll see how that one goes. They haven't done it yet. I think what the compromise there would be, it would be an opt-in type of situation where you can, I don't know what you would do, you would jumble up your Bitcoin, your Litecoin, such that it could not be tracked in the same way on the blockchain. At least I think that's how it's going to work. I haven't seen the paper. I've only just seen Charlie Lee's tweets. Now here's something else interesting you just got to keep in mind about Bitcoin, Litecoin, and so on. Two issues. The private keys, if you don't have them, they say you don't own them. But if you don't have a retrieval system and you happen to die unexpectedly, I guess some people don't plan their deaths, but this gentleman who ran looks like some type of an exchange, he died, and he was the only one who knew the private keys to $190 million worth of cryptocurrencies. Founder's widow said she doesn't know where they are, and therefore that inventory is unavailable and it may be lost. Now the amounts of that were pretty significant. 26,500 Bitcoin just pretty much evaporated. Now that's not uncommon. They say up to 4, 5, 6 million Bitcoin have been lost, and there's only going to be 21 million. So when you lose another 26,000, that's pretty significant. Litecoin, there's only going to be 84 million. I think they've mined about 70 million so far. Looks like another 200,000 maybe lost there as well. And finally, our buddy, no, there's another one. CoinCloud. Yes. CoinCloud Bitcoin ATMs. They're going to start adding some altcoins to their ATMs. The most popular one altcoin is Litecoin. I think it's about 2,500 of the 4,300 machines also support Litecoin. The next, I think, is Ethereum with 2,100, and after that it falls off. Almost all of the Bitcoin ATMs or ATMs, crypto ATMs, carry Bitcoin, and then a good number carry Litecoin and Ethereum. Finally, our buddy Jack Dorsey of Twitter, Square, and Cash fame. He was on Joe Rogan, and with respect to Bitcoin, remember his Cash app, very popular Cash app, allows people to buy and sell Bitcoin and only Bitcoin. And he said on to Joe Rogan, he thinks the currency of the internet will be Bitcoin. Very interesting. So he is supportive of Bitcoin, and he has a business that's supportive of Bitcoin, not Twitter, but this Square and this Cash app. And here it is. They're saying that that app is the second most popular Apple application. All right, let's move on to, should we go to China? Let's go to China. The latest from China. I always bring you these stories. I've been bringing you these stories for years. The two issues I've had with China from an economic perspective is it's all based on credit. People are focused on what they build, what they produce. But again, most of that building and production, not most of it, a good portion of that building and production is make work, make GDP, and isn't necessarily driven by market demand. And so they have to borrow money to build projects, which a lot of people say, well, that gives them an advantage. They've got all this infrastructure. Infrastructure is not an asset unless it's being used. If you just build bridges to nowhere, highways, skyscrapers that no one's in, they're a liability because you borrow money to spend the millions to build those edifices and railways and so on. If they're not used, they still got to be maintained. And how are you going to get your money back from the money you borrowed if there's no one paying rent, there's no one riding and paying fees going across the bridges and so on? So I don't view that as any type of advantage that China has built all this infrastructure. Well, they'll grow into it. No, not some of it not in the immediate term. Yeah, some of it's okay to plan ahead and build infrastructure, planning on what you're going to move into. But when you're just building to support the economy and to give people jobs to build stuff, then it also, not only do you not going to get your money back if you don't have people paying fees, rent, and so on, you have to pay to maintain it. You're going to have to pay tax on it. So that's been a problem I've had with the Chinese economy. But a lot of the gold bugs just get all excited because they've got gold. Not that that absolves you of any economic sins, nor do I think it makes you smart. But they also have a lot of human rights abuses, the social credit scores, the censorship, the concentration camps for the Muslims in the north. I mean, they have a lot of issues. Here's one. Chinese city has recently launched a smartphone map that displays the location and identity of anyone within 500 meters who's landed on a government credit worthiness blacklist. So again, I'm not sure why gold somehow makes China great and pretty much forget everything. You know, gold, back yuan, game changer, Belt and Road. They love the Belt and Road. Sun Tzu, end of dollar hegemony, China to crush the dollar. You get a lot of people that love that narrative and they swear by it and they don't want to hear anything else about China. I mean, they love to talk about the debt for the U.S. and rightfully there's a lot of debt in the U.S., but China's got tremendous amount, even more debt and even more worthless debt. And then they try to say, well, they owe it to themselves. Yeah. Then they try to say that the yuan is going to be a international currency. Everyone's going to want it. Why would you want it when all they do is print money in their own money? And they also have $2 trillion of external debt. Anyway, I'm not here to bash China. Just want to mention that there's a lot of things going on in China other than China is buying gold hand over fist. Speaking of the Fed, which we weren't, but we're speaking of them now, Cash Gary, Big Dove, says Powell is coming around to his dovish point of view. Yes, indeed he is. And the U.S. Central Bank should wait until wages and inflation pick up. I don't think in the normal circumstance that would be bad advice. The problem is, however, that the Fed isn't really just trying to manage the current economy. They're concerned because they acted so rashly by bringing interest rates down to zero that they haven't given themselves enough leeway to do their manipulation if indeed the next recession hits and they want to use lower interest rates. They pretty much admitted last time that they're not just going to, if the interest rates don't do the trick, they're going to have to go back to the QE style, using the balance sheet. So yes, it might make sense. Always, you should wait until you see the whites of their eyes before you start shooting. But here the issue is the Fed really, I don't know if they really, or they're just grandstanding. They claim to want to be prudent. They want to roll off the balance sheet. They want to reduce the balance sheet, raise interest rates. But the problem is they have gone too far the other direction. They should have thought of that when they started. But then they thought they were in emergency times back in 2008 and 9 when they started this extreme policy. So we'll see. I don't know. I don't think they'll be able to get much further. I think the brakes have been halted on this rate hike thing, but we'll have to see unless there's some dramatic economic data that comes out. All right, now let's see. Tonight we're going to do the Silver Cross. We also have a product development that'll probably make Andrew happy in the Smaulgld mugs, but you have to come back at 8 to check that out. Either 7:30 or 8. We've got a new Smaulgld mug product announcement. And I think it's time for Veronica. Uh-oh. We got a moron here.
Presenting the distinguished international news commentator and foreign correspondent,
Smaulgld. This has been an extraordinary week in world affairs.
No, I told Hillary Clinton that that's moronic.
Two things here. I don't like when they do this fear-mongering, but now they're saying that if Brexit is no deal, remember it was going to be the end of the world. Well, the Queen, they're going to have to evacuate her. I mean, this is not like if Hitler managed to breach the English defenses, they have to evacuate the Queen. I mean, I just don't understand what the fear is here. If you have no deal, you have no deal. I mean, what happened to carry on? Keep calm and carry on. All right, but this one coming up, this is a very interesting one. I don't know if any of you saw Google, what is it, Google? No, YouTube. They do this rewind thing at the end of the year. I don't know what the purpose of it is. It's to show what happened during the year. It's so detached from reality, I think. And they have a bunch of people running around on a film, and it doesn't make any sense. I mean, I saw it. I don't know what the point of it was, but they're not. And that video, I think, got 15 million dislikes and like 2 million likes, something racially ridiculous. And a lot of times, like the Gillette commercial, you'll just see people look at that and say, oh, no, I don't like this. And this is similar. They're thinking of getting rid of the dislike button to get rid of dislike mobs. It was very similar to what Twitter was saying. They wanted to get rid of the number of followers. Now, the reason I want to get rid of the number of followers, a lot of people, they buy followers or there's bots or whatever. Even once they sort that out, they think that it's not fair that a lot of people that are popular, maybe they shouldn't be popular because they hold views they don't like, and that there's a lot of really quality journalists or whatever that don't get the number of followers. So, and they think that the people will follow those that have more followers. There is a certain psychology in that, but that's the way the world is. It's typical. Sometimes people say, well, look at you. Who are you? You only have 3,700 followers. That makes what I say, in some people's mind, less valid, less important than somebody who has a pumper channel that might have 100,000. They figure, well, that's validation that whatever gold back yuan story they're pumping is somehow true. Now, I don't bemoan that. That's the way of the world. There are people who think that the number of likes, the number of dislikes, the number of followers is important, or an important criteria. Some think it's the be-all and end-all. So Twitter wanted to get rid of the number of followers. But they didn't do it, and they probably won't do it. But they were talking a lot about it a couple of months ago. Now what YouTube wants to do is think about taking away the dislike button. Now, if I watch a video like that I don't know what it was called, where YouTube Rewind, not seeing the number of, I'd still vote it down. It's not like I see 15 million people disliked it, so, oh, I might as well dislike it too. You're going to like it or dislike it, I think, on the basis of whether you like it or dislike it. But I think what they don't like is the fact that their stuff isn't liked. The opinions that they like. And, you see, let's say, a flat earth video or one of these, what they call conspiracy videos. They get a lot of likes. I'm sure they do. I don't even know. I haven't looked. I mean, I don't pay attention really to the likes and dislikes. This has actually drawn my attention to it. But let's say a flat earth video or an anti-global warming video gets thousands of likes, thousands of views. Well, in their mind, those videos shouldn't get any likes. No one should like a video that tries to convince you that 9/11 was an inside job, or that the United States didn't land on the moon, or any of these what they call conspiracy theories. They don't want anyone to like those. But I guess what they take more offense is when you put up a video that it tries to explain why the Federal Reserve is acting in your benefit, and everyone dislikes it because they don't like the Fed. They don't like that. So I think it's Moronica it's a form of censorship, just to say, okay, well, we don't like how this game is turning out. It's like the kid who shows up at the ball and either he's not playing full time or his team is losing, takes the ball and goes home. Or it's the same as turning over the board. You're losing in the game. The rules of the game say this has to happen, and what's happening isn't happening for you on the board. So you turn the board over, you get rid of the dislike button. Not a fan of that at all. All right, well, that does it for now. We will be back later, so make sure you look for the alert that comes out. We'll be back later to talk about the Silver Cross. We're going to be talking about a farewell to silver as a monetary metal, the Democrats' view of silver. They try to hold on to silver as a monetary metal, even after they lost the big one in 1896 when William Jennings Bryan lost his pitch to try to bring back the bimetallic standard. So we'll be back at around, I think we'll do it at 8 o'clock, in another 2 hours. Maybe you want to watch the Gold Cross video to catch up so you're up to date when we start the Silver Cross video. And that is going to start, I think around 8, as we said. There you go. There's a preview. And remember, we've got that Smaulgld product announcement coming up. I'm not going to take comments tonight. At this point, we will look at the comments. If you have anything in the comment just now that you want to raise after we go through the Silver Cross story, we'll get to those comments later tonight. I'm going to take a look at them once we get off, but we're going to shut down now. We'll see you in about 2 hours.